Part 88. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 871. Lu Wenzo stood there like a statue. He wanted to step forward, but when he took 2 steps, Zhou Tao took 2 steps back. Lu Wenzo's defensive posture made Lu Wenzo feel angry in his chest. I didn't know what to say, so I could only stay there. Zhou Tao rubbed it a few times and the pain was gone. She reached out and picked up the suitcase. It was very heavy. She lived on the 3rd floor and there was no elevator. She didn't know how Lu Wenzo carried it up. He probably asked Wang Hui to carry it up. Zhou Tao opened the door first, then picked up the suitcase, but was held down by Lu Wenzo. Did I tell you that Junling is unreliable? The light was dim, and Zhou Tao's eyes were filled with water. Does Mr. Lu like to meddle in his ex-wife's affairs so much? You hate me so much, shouldn't you be happy to see me fail with other men? Do you care whether Junling is reliable or not? Lu Wenzo realized that he was really a poor man of words. He once said that Zhou Tao was not good at talking, but Zhou Tao's eloquence had undergone a qualitative change since she left him. A few random words would always leave him speechless. Do you think I care about you? Junling wants to come to the Lu family for financing, and I am. Are you worried that Junling will be thinking about the Lu family's money through me? After all, the old man is very kind to you. Lu Wenzo was a little irritable. What was he talking about? How do you make a date that feels so wrong? Zhou Tao pushed his hand away, gritted her teeth and said, Don't worry, I will never lead a wolf into the house and let others plot Grandpa Lu's money. After saying that, he pushed the suitcase hard into the living room and closed the door. Lu Wenzo was rejected once again, closed his eyes, digested his anger, and then walked away. Being cheated has nothing to do with him anymore. Why should he care about her life or death? In the living room, Zhou Tao turned on the floor lamp, and warm yellow light shone down. She dragged her suitcase to the carpet in front of the sofa, sat down, and unzipped the suitcase. The items inside were neatly arranged. Some clothes, photo albums, books, skincare products, a hair dryer, and a doll. She had brought these things to his residence with unlimited expectations, but now these things were packaged and sent out of his villa like their owners. Zhou Tao sighed softly and told herself, look forward, people can't always be stuck in the past, it doesn't make any sense. She opened the photo album, which was quite thin and contained only a few photos. It was a photo of her and Lu Wenzo before. She was 17 years old at the time and was visiting the Lu family with her father. When she saw Lu Wenzo, she fell in love at first sight. She took Lu Wenzo with her for several photos. At that time, Lu Wenzo only thought that she was an ordinary girl, or a younger sister. Although he had no expression in the photo, he was not cold-faced. Lu Wenzo's dislike of her started when she got married. In fact, she didn't want to force a man to marry a woman he didn't like at that time. It was just that the old man wanted her to be his granddaughter-in-law, so he used her critical illness to trick Lu Wenzo. Lu Wenzo felt that everything was because she wanted to marry him and let the old man pretend to be critically ill. Zhou Tao smiled, she was quite innocent. The old man never told her about this, and until they got married, he thought Lu Wenzo at least had a good impression of her. Zhou Tao touched the photo lightly, then stood up and threw the photo into the trash can. No more watching, no nostalgia for the past. Lu Wenzo went downstairs, and Wang Hui looked worried. Second master, you carried such a heavy suitcase up and didn't even let me do anything to help you. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 872. Driver, second master is an adult male who exercises regularly. Do you still need your help at this point? Lu Wenzo's face was a little gloomy. Go back. You sent your luggage back to Miss Jo. She should be very grateful to you, right? Lu Wenzo picked up his cell phone and dialed a number. Wang Hui said cautiously, "Second master, what are you doing?" "Change the bodyguard." Wang Hui, "Master, I was wrong, please stop." Lu Wenzo put down his phone and glanced at him gloomily, "If you dare to mention her again in the future, get out." "Yes, yes, yes." It seems that the second master and Zhou Tao are not getting along happily again today. He sincerely hoped that the two men could resolve their feud, otherwise such a violent and irritable second master would torture him to death sooner or later. Zhou Tao tidied up the trash can in the living room, went downstairs and threw the garbage bag into the shared trash can overnight, fearing that she would regret it. When I say look forward, I mean to look forward, and I won't let myself become soft-hearted. Fu Nanli didn't sleep well all night, but Wen Qiao seemed to be at ease, lying in his arms and sleeping soundly. When she got up early, even with Wen Qiao's iron body, she still felt soreness spreading to her limbs, and she was so sleepy that she wanted to stay in bed. Fu Nanli leaned on the bedside, picked up the stethoscope, hung it on his ear, then lifted the quilt and listened to her heartbeat. Wen Qiao was confused. "What are you doing?" He stretched out his hand and was held down by Fu Nanli. "Don't move." Wen Qiao remained motionless. Fu Nanli listened for a while and made sure there was nothing wrong with her heart rate, then hung the stethoscope around her neck. Did Dr. Fu hear anything? She's still being mean, Fu Nanli thought. Didn't he learn the lesson from last night? Get some sleep, don't worry. Wen Qiao thought, what's wrong with her? What do you want to eat? I'll go to the kitchen and cook it for you. Auntie didn't come. Well, I'll give her a few days off, and I'll cook for you these days. Wen Qiao, you might as well let Auntie do it. Don't you have any idea how the young master's cooking skills are? Fu Nanli reached over and pinched her face. You little thing who doesn't know what's good or bad. The eldest young master washed his hands and made soup for her to eat, but she actually disliked it. When I went to the kitchen, my grandma called. She answered the phone and it was the housekeeper of Yuan's mansion, Master Nanli. Fu Nanli stirred the egg liquid in the bowl. Well, what's wrong? The old lady is not feeling well today and has been talking about you. Can you come over and see her mother? Fu Nanli, are you feeling unwell? What's wrong? I have the same old problem. It rains all the time these days. I have an attack of rheumatism. I didn't sleep well all night. Now I have a headache and a bad appetite. Yeah, I know. I'll be there in a moment. It was past 9 o'clock, and Wen Qiao was still sleeping. He never expected that a person with such good physical fitness would have such a day of physical exhaustion. One can imagine how strong Fu Nanli is. Fu Nanli went upstairs, sat on the edge of the bed, bowed his head, and whispered, "Do you still want to sleep?" Wen Qiao looked sleepy and sighed, "I don't have the strength." Fu Nanli rubbed her fingers. Grandma is not feeling well. She is telling me that I have to go over. Otherwise, you can sleep here and I will be back at noon, okay? Wen Qiao struggled to sit up. I'll go with you. Can you? Wen Qiao flipped his hair. Where are we now? What's wrong with it? The straight girl lives up to her reputation. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 873. Fu Nanli clasped her hand, picked up the clothes on the side, and said in a low and beguiling voice, "Does this mean I need to work harder?" Wen Qiao's head was buzzing. Don't interpret my words blindly. Fu Nanli helped her put on her top. The round neck one couldn't block the traces on her neck. He didn't have a scarf or anything here, not to mention that Wen Qiao had never used such a ladle-like item in her whole life. After breakfast, he got in the car, and when he was about to arrive at Yuanyi's mansion, the car stopped in front of a silk boutique. Fu Nanli got out of the car and bought a silk scarf, which he tied around Wen Qiao's neck. "Wen Qiao, why are you wearing this?" "Fu Nanli, it's okay if you don't want to wear it. Then everyone in the Yuanyi's mansion will know what we did last night from top to bottom." He said that he would help her untie the silk scarf. Wen Qiao held his hand and said, "Just wear it." When they arrived at Yuanyi's mansion, Wen Qiao got out of the car and saw several luxury cars parked in the yard. "Is there anyone else coming? There should be a lot of people coming." Wen Qiao covered the gauze scarf around his neck, feeling that he shouldn't have followed. As soon as they entered the mansion, they saw Fu Nanli's cousins, mother, aunt, and Shen Tian. The whole family came together. After all, the old lady was not feeling well, and they did not dare to neglect her. Yamingkai brought a cup of warm water and said, "Mom, drink some." The old lady sat on the bed and took a sip of water, her face not happy. The doctor who came over from the Fu family private hospital examined the old lady and said, "It's still the same problem. Take the medicine as usual. The humidity in Haikan is heavy. Don't stop taking the medicine recently." Yamin Chun pressed the old lady's temples. "How about you go to the north to live for a while? It's not wet there." The old lady glanced at her. "I don't know anyone there." What is the old lady doing living alone in a place she's not familiar with? Yamin Chun knew that the old lady would not be merciful when she was not feeling well, so she could only give in. "I just suggested that if you don't want to go, we won't force you to go." "This is purely a brainless suggestion of yours," the old lady spoke lazily, scolding her little girl slowly. Yes, I have no brain." The old lady raised her eyes and saw Fu Nanli, beckoning, "Nanli, come here." Only then did everyone see the two people standing at the door of the room. Fu Nanli took them to the bed and asked with concern, "Are you okay?" "It's an old problem, it's nothing." Wen Qiao saw that the old lady's face was a little pale and she looked very haggard. Rheumatism was really a troublesome problem. "Xiao Qiao is here too." Wen Qiao called her grandma obediently, and the old lady's face suddenly became much better. She pointed at Ji Xianzheng and Chu Qinju. "If you two can bring people to see me, my mood will be better, and my health will also be better." "Ji Xianzheng, didn't I bring Shen Tian with me?" "Chu Qinju, I brought my mother here." "Old lady, you two, get out." The two of them stood there motionless, apologizing to the old lady. Yamingkai gently tapped the old lady's leg. "I'll talk about them later. It would be better if you could ask them to bring me my granddaughter-in-law." Ji Xianzheng and Chu Qinju looked at each other. They kept bringing this up every time they came back. The old lady couldn't stop talking. Yamingkai thought, "Please spare me. If you can't control your own son, how can you control other people's sons?" The old lady waved to Wen Qiao. "Xiao Qiao, come and sit." Wen Qiao was about to go over. The silk scarf around her neck was tied by Fu Nanli for her, and the knot was tied at the back. Of course, this was because Fu Nanli had never tied a silk scarf for anyone before, and Wen Qiao didn't think it looked bad when tied like this. Yamingkai pulled it in disgust. "Why is this scarf tied like this?" The buttons were loose and the silk scarf was slippery. With a pull, the buttons came loose. Wen Qiao didn't have time to react. He sat beside the old lady's bed with a piece of space around his neck. The whole silk scarf fell into Yamingkai's hands. Everyone's eyes fell on Wen Qiao's neck. Fu Nanli originally wanted to block it, but found that it was of no use. There was a feeling of powerlessness at 360 degrees, and every time he could not block his sight. Wen Qiao's neck felt cold, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. "This. Wen Qiao, I was so scared at the time." "Fu Nanli, What should I say? Waiting online, it's quite urgent. It's a new week, please vote for me and recommend me. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 874. Yamingkai leaned closer and glanced at the little girl's neck. The slender swan neck was really beautiful, with ambiguous red marks on it. How could she not know what that was? After all, he even wore a silk scarf to cover it up. Isn't it a cover-up? At that moment, everyone in the room was a little embarrassed. The cold and reserved Fu Nanli in their eyes turned out to be a completely different person in front of the little girl. Tisk tisk. Yamingkai didn't say anything, silently helping Wen Qiao tie the scarf around his neck again, and said to ease the embarrassment, "This is how the scarf should be tied." Wen Qiao. Hey, my lifelong reputation. I understand, thank you auntie. Yamingkai tied up her silk scarf and tied it with a knot in the front. It was so blind that her son was so ruthless. Ji Xianzheng coughed lightly, well, third child, let's go outside and drink coffee. After saying that, he and Chu Qinju walked out, then looked back at Shen Tian, what are you doing there? Shen Tian walked out with a wonderful expression. Uncle Tang Monk is eating meat. Wow, it's wonderful. Ji Xianzhen's sister also went out with Yamingkai and Yamin Chun, leaving only the old lady and a young couple in the bedroom. The old lady was very happy. Even though she was older, she didn't feel embarrassed and uncomfortable like a young person when she saw something about men having sex with women. Not only did he not feel uncomfortable, he also took Wen Qiao's hand and said, "You are still young, so you must take safety measures, you know." Wen Qiao's head almost exploded. Is the old lady so direct? Fu Nanli, are you still worried about these things? Wen Qiao's ears turned red. If he continued talking like this, the child would explode on the spot. Just now I saw that she looked embarrassed and wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in. I really couldn't continue the discussion. The old lady knew what was going on and no longer embarrassed the little girl about this matter. Wen Qiao asked, "Does your leg hurt?" "Yes, it's an old habit. It happens when it's cloudy or rainy." "Didn't you go to the hospital?" The old lady smiled and said, "This disease is so ugly that no matter how much money you have, it will be useless." Wen Qiao thought about asking his uncle later. Although he didn't know what he was researching in foreign medical organizations over the years, he always felt that he should know many hidden big names in the medical field. The old lady kept holding Wen Qiao's hand, and even felt that Fu Nanli was in the way, go outside and chat with them. "Fu Nanli, I'm here to accompany you." The old lady glanced at him, "Are you going to accompany me or Xiao Qiao?" Fu Nanli's hand fell on Wen Qiao's shoulder, "Of course I will accompany you, old man. Qiao and I will accompany you together." The old lady didn't embarrass him. She chatted with Wen Qiao with a smile on her face. It was obvious that she really liked Wen Qiao. Everyone stayed in the mansion to eat at noon. The atmosphere at the dinner table was a little subtle. Everyone deliberately pretended not to look at Wen Qiao, but they glanced at her from the corners of their eyes. Wen Qiao, a person with such a slow emotion, felt that he was sitting on pins and needles at this moment, as if he was living on top of charcoal fire. It was so unbearable. The chef at the mansion didn't know whether it was intentional or not, but he made a sea cucumber, wolfberry, and oxtail soup. Yamingkai used serving chopsticks to pick up a sea cucumber for Fu Nanli, bu. Ji Xianzheng and Chu Qinju lowered their heads, unable to hold back their smiles, and their shoulders were shaking violently. Fu Nanli coughed lightly, "No need. Yamingkai, you can eat it if I give it to you." Then he took another piece and gave it to Wen Qiao, "You can mend it too." Wen Qiao thought, why did she volunteer to come here today? What kind of sin did she suffer? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 875. Yamingkaiu and Yamin Chun quickly went to the bedroom to accompany the old lady after eating. Ji Xianzheng poured a cup of bitter tea over and said, I think my second aunt shouldn't feed you sea cucumbers. You should drink some bitter tea to relieve the fire. Fu Nanli glanced at him, you're full after eating, so you have nothing to do to make trouble, right? Chu Qinja said, why don't you recognize a good heart? Fu Nanli's temple hurt badly. Seeing that his uncles were teasing Uncle Nanli, Shen Tian also wanted to join in the fun. Uncle, I'll serve you some sea cucumber soup and a piece of oxtail. He saw his uncle glance over with a sinister look. Roll. Shen Tian felt aggrieved and said, Auntie, look at uncle. Wen Xiao, I listen to your uncle. Shen Tian, the little shrimps at the bottom of the food chain are so pitiful. After finally finishing lunch, Fu Nanli quickly took Wen Xiao to say goodbye to the old lady. The old lady originally complained that her legs hurt, probably because she was happy about something, but now she said that she didn't feel uncomfortable anymore. With Fu Nanli and Wen Xiao gone, Ji Xianzheng and Chu Qinju will naturally suffer. You two, one is older than the other. Give me a sure sign today of when you are going to be with each other. Ji Xianzheng and Chu Qinju felt that they shouldn't have teased Fu Nanli at the dinner table just now. Retribution came really quickly. Ji Xianzheng, I will try to bring someone to show you this year. Chu Qinju, me too. Let's say some nice words to appease the old lady first. As for whether we can bring someone back by the end of the year, we'll talk about it then. In the car, the air pressure was a little low. Wen Xiao stretched out his hand and pulled the silk scarf, silently tying it tighter. Fu Nanli rubbed her head, I should tie it tighter for you. Wen Xiao, I simply doubt that you did it on purpose. Fu Nanli was furious, am I sick? Did I let them see it on purpose? Wen Xiao pouted, who knows you? Fu Nanli pinched her face, I just wish I could put you in my pocket and not show it to anyone, and stop your dangerous thoughts. Wen Xiao pursed her lips, the atmosphere was quite awkward just now. Fu Nanli, it's okay, we are lovers, it's not something shameful. Wen Xiao raised his forehead and said, my great reputation will last forever. Fu Nanli clamped her chin, what? My glorious name for the rest of my life. How? Wen Xiao changed the subject, my reputation has become even more glorious. I actually have Master Fu firmly in my grasp. Others must think I am particularly awesome. Mr. Fu had an expression on his face that said, that's not bad. Wen Xiao stayed at Fu Nanli's place for 2 days, at least until the mark on her neck was gone before she could go home. At the entrance of the alley, I happened to see my uncle coming from not far away. The two went home side by side. The young master sitting in the car overturned the jealousy tank again and let out a heavy breath. Wen Xiao asked Susi, Uncle, are you also involved in rheumatism? Susi, why are you asking this? Who has rheumatism? Fu Nanli's grandmother. Susi, have you seen Western medicine? Wen Xiao, you should have seen it. Both the Fu family and the Ye family are rich and powerful, and they have seen all kinds of famous doctors. The two entered the courtyard and Susi opened the door, then try Chinese medicine. Wen Xiao, huh? Uncle, can you do it? Susi, I will teach you acupuncture tonight. Wen Xiao was stunned, huh? I'm teaching you acupuncture, but you can't understand Chinese. Wen Xiao, do you know Chinese medicine? Also, teach me? I have no medical background. Can't you help the old lady take a look? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 876. Suci, I will teach you as soon as possible. Rheumatism is not an urgent disease, and it cannot be treated in a few times. When you have time, go and give the old lady acupuncture. It will take some time to see the effect. Wen Qiao hesitated, I don't know if it can be done. Suci smiled, I said you can do it, you definitely can. Professor Su's first apprentice, what's wrong with him? Suci, wait for me, I'll find you some tools. Suci went to his experimental base and got a set of needles and a map of the distribution of various acupuncture points on the human body. Not long after Wen Qiao waited, she saw her uncle coming in with a bag of things, and she was a little curious. What's this? Acupuncture, I only teach you this. Just give the old lady acupuncture. Wen Qiao, well, let me give it a try. Spreading out a map of the distribution of acupuncture points and organs on the human body, Suci regained his professionalism and calmness when talking about work. You have a good memory, let me tell you about the distribution of the 720 acupuncture points in the human body and the corresponding functions of these acupoints. You need a few days to digest it. Wen Qiao said solemnly, okay. The acupuncture point distribution map was spread all over the dining table. Suci introduced it to her from top to bottom. Here is the Beihui point. He was hit in the head and fell unconscious. Wen Qiao took out his notebook and planned to take notes. Suci smiled and said, I have a notebook in my room. You don't need to take notes. It's very detailed. You can take it and read it later. Wen Qiao nodded, yes. From the afternoon until 10 o'clock in the evening, Suci was only halfway through what he said. The acupuncture points of Chinese medicine were too broad and profound, covering too many points. Wen Qiao's brain felt a little bloated, but he also digested a lot. Okay, let's continue tomorrow. It's time to go to bed. When Wen Qiao went to bed that night, her dreams were all about various acupuncture points. She had been dreaming all night. When she got up early, at the dinner table, Suci randomly asked her a few points. Tell me about the Qingming point. Wen Qiao pressed the center of his eyebrows and spoke eloquently, 0.1 inch above the inner corner of the eye, the bladder meridian of the foot and Taiyang, at the intersection of the Taiyang, Yangming, Yangzi, and Yinzi meridians of the feet and hands, was hit on the back of the head. Dizzy and fell to the ground. Suci looked satisfied. She remembered it well after telling it yesterday. As expected of his echo. Where's the dovetail point? It is located 7 inches above the umbilicus and half an inch below the xiphoid process. The meridian belongs to the Ren meridian and is connected to the collateral points of the Ren meridian. After being hit, it impacts the abdominal wall arteries and veins, liver and gallbladder, shakes the heart, and causes blood stagnation and death. Suci nodded, well, I think you can memorize all these within 3 days, and then I will teach you acupuncture. Where to go? A mannequin will be sent over, and we will pierce the dummy first. There are some differences between the dummy Wen Qiao thought and the dummy sent over. She thought the dummy was just like a mannequin selling clothes, but she didn't expect that the dummy that was delivered could blink its eyes, and the skin felt very similar to that of a human being, as well as the temperature and heart is beating. Wen Qiao was a little confused. Uncle, is this a dummy? The robot is modeled after a real person and is 30% similar to the human body. It is mainly used for medical experiments. If you tap the wrong acupuncture point, the robot will respond accordingly. What's the reaction? It's broken and needs to be sent to the factory for repair. Is it expensive to repair? Suci thought for a moment and decided not to scare her, otherwise he would be too hesitant to perform the injection smoothly. Fortunately, it's not expensive. Just feel free to take the injection. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 877. It's only a few 100,000 per repair. The dummy was placed on a wooden table in the yard, with the needle pack prepared by Susie for Wen Qiao beside it. Wen Qiao breathed out. Susie put one hand in his pocket, took a long wooden stick in the other, and said calmly, "Key eye point." Wen Qiao took a slender needle and stabbed it steadily 1.5 inches from the spine of the third lumbar vertebra. A smile flashed across Susie's lips. The little girl had some understanding. Wen Qiao stabbed several acupuncture points quickly and steadily, but the sweat on his forehead slowly slipped away. Wen Qiao wants to be strong and want to be the best in everything he does. Moreover, she wanted to learn acupuncture to relieve Grandma Fu Nanli's pain. She couldn't do it half-heartedly. Now that she had learned it, she had to go all out. To a certain extent, Wen Qiao and Susie are the same perfectionists. Even though the sweat slowly fell from Wen Qiao's forehead, Susie did not relax his assessment of her. Only a strict master can produce a good disciple. Susie understood this truth. Yongquan Point. It was around 5 o'clock in the evening. Wen Qiao had been standing all afternoon. Now his mind was a little sluggish. His hand movements hesitated for a moment, and then he was about to prick the Zuzanli point. Snapped. The long wooden stick in Susie's hand came over and hit the back of her hand. Wen Qiao's hand shook. The blow was so hard that the back of her hand turned red visibly. Susie said expressionlessly, "Think about it carefully." Wen Qiao exhaled, thought carefully, moved his hand to the correct Yongquan point, and then firmly inserted it. "Yeah, right." Wen Qiao didn't show any pretense and didn't even rub the back of his hand, then continue, "Uncle." Susie put down the wooden stick in his hand. "Okay, let's have dinner first. That's it for today. No matter how much you practice, your brain will be confused. Read your notes at night and strengthen your memory. Okay." When Susie tested Wen Qiao, Su Yun was watching from the side. Except for lunchtime, Qiao basically stood. The late April sun had been shining all afternoon. Now her face was red and she was pierced in the wrong place. Susie was not merciful, he just grew wooden sticks for fear of getting into her hands, as ruthlessly as if Qiao was not his niece. Su Yun was so distressed that she quickly walked over and grabbed Wen Qiao's hand. "It's red and swollen." Wen Qiao didn't care. "It's okay, Mom, let's have dinner." Su Yun glared at Susie. "Can't you just say no? Are you still making wooden sticks? Are you from a private school in the old society?" Susie looked innocent. "This way she will remember it deeply and she won't make mistakes in the future. There's no need to do this. You've beaten her several times. Our Qiao has thin skin and tender flesh." Susie took a look and saw that the back of his hand was indeed red and swollen. "Does it hurt?" It seems that he still has no experience as a teacher. After all, Qiao is the first student he has formally taught hand in hand. "Wen Qiao, it's okay." Su Yun glared at Wen Qiao again. "What's wrong? Does it not hurt? I asked your Uncle Ji to boil an egg for you and apply it on you." When Su Yun was applying eggs to Wen Qiao, Susie was sitting next to him, and Master Yan began to adopt a gentle policy. "You are already very good. I tested 320 acupuncture points today, and you only made 4 mistakes in total. You have mastered so much in such a short time, which is difficult for ordinary people to achieve." Su Yun, "Then you still beat her." Susie, "I was wrong, I won't fight again." After receiving the compliment, Wen Qiao pursed his lips in satisfaction. In 3 consecutive days, Wen Qiao measured 720 acupuncture points with a 100% accuracy rate. Mr. Robot was not scrapped and was safe and sound. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 878. Wen Qiao couldn't hide her happiness and took several photos with Mr. Robot. This robot is tall, about the same height as Wen Qi and Wen Mo, and has thick eyebrows and big eyes. Unless you tell people that it is a robot, you really can't tell it at all. Where did this robot come from? She asked casually. Susie, my friend owns a robot manufacturing company, so I borrowed it from him. Is it just in Heiken? The headquarters is abroad and there is a branch in Heiken. It's pretty awesome. The ones who came to pick up the robot were Susie's men Lao Fang and Aisha. Wen Qiao and the others were in the living room. Lao Fang carried the robot on his body and asked, "Boss, are you sending it back to your company?" Susie coughed lightly, "Send it back to my friend's company." Lao Fang was stunned. Making friends out of nothing? I know. The next day, Wen Qiao went to Fu Nanli's residence. She thought the photos taken with the robot were interesting, so she sent them all to Lu Yuyu. Then the phone was thrown on the sofa and she went to the bathroom. The mobile phone was spread out on the sofa like this, as if inviting a certain young master to look at it. Fu Nanli just took a glance and saw an intimate photo of her and a man, and narrowed his eyes slightly. When Wen Qiao came out of the bathroom, he saw a cold-faced young master. She didn't think too much and directed him, "I recently learned acupuncture. I'll press it on you and you can cross your legs." Fu Nanli was as motionless as a mountain. Wen Qiao thought to himself, "I will press Yongquan Point for you." Yongquan Point is an important acupointment on the kidney meridian. Regular massage here can increase the essence, marrow, kidney, and yang. Before she could finish her words, the man blocked her lips. "Do I need to replenish my kidneys?" After a long while, Fu Nanli took her mobile phone and said in an angry tone, "Who is this person?" Because Wen Qiao's hand was around the man's waist, his behavior was very intimate. Wen Qiao said with a smile, "My brother-in-law's friend." Mr. Wen had obviously forgotten the cost of his last skin. Brother-in-law's friend, the man was so jealous that he was already gnashing his teeth. "Yes, he came to my house to play and I took a photo with him. This should be nothing, right?" With a slight movement, he was hugged by Fu Nanli. "Wen Qiao, am I too indulgent of you? You can have suitors, but you can't cuddle with those men. Hug. Hug. Hug." He went too far by giving her freedom, and now the child is starting to become ignorant. He needs to use practical actions to tell her how jealous he is and what the bottom line is for her to get along with other men. Wen Qiao suffered the consequences. By the time she explained, "This man is actually a robot, and I took a photo with him just for fun," it was already too late. The next day, Wen Qiao was so sleepy that he didn't want to get up. Mr. Fu proved with his actual actions that he did not need to replenish his kidneys. "Here, tell me which acupuncture point to press for backache." "I'll press it for you." Wen Qiao was too lazy to talk to him and glanced at him. Young Master Fu was in a good mood and pressed her hands casually. Wen Qiao took his hand and said, "When I master acupuncture, I can give it to your grandma to try." Fu Nanli touched her head. "Do you think you haven't consulted a traditional Chinese medicine doctor? You have consulted all kinds of famous doctors at home and abroad, both Western medicine and Chinese medicine. There is no cure for this disease." "Wen Qiao, that's not necessarily true. My uncle seems to be very good in medicine. Other famous doctors can't compare to him. As his student, I think maybe I can cure your grandma." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 879. When you've learned it, you can give it a try. Fu Nanli didn't hold out much hope. No matter how powerful Susie is, How much more powerful can he be? How much money did the Fu family and the Ye family spend? Of course they hired the best doctors in the world, but they couldn't cure grandma's serious illness. How many children can I learn? God, how could it possibly work? But she had such filial piety, and he couldn't bear to pour cold water on her. When Wen Qiao returned home, she saw her cousin and aunt coming again, along with Du Yun, the girl who had a blind date with her uncle last time. Wen Qiao's face was expressionless. Su Ying looked like a villain and said, "I'm here to treat you to dinner." "Wen Qiao, what's the name?" "I received an offer from a multinational group, a famous company that produces robots." "Do you know Wen Qiao?" "Wen Qiao, she used a robot to practice acupuncture a few days ago, but she is not sure whether the robot is the multinational group Su Ying mentioned." "My uncle probably doesn't know the CEO of any multinational group." "So what?" Su Ying snorted lightly, "I just graduated, and my salary during the internship period was 7,000, and after I became a full-time employee, it was 9,000. Moreover, this company has unlimited potential and is ranked among the top 500 in the world." Su Ying was boasting all the time, and the calm reactions of the people in front of her made her a little annoyed. "Wen Qiao, do you still look down on my work?" Wen Qiao nodded truthfully, "It seems to be nothing special." Su Ying, you paused and said, "Don't you just rely on Fu Nanli to open an entertainment company? It's nothing special. At least I got this job by myself by submitting my resume online and then interviewing. But there is no backdoor at all. Fresh graduates can get jobs worth RMB 9,000 a month in Fortune 500 companies. Go out and find out for yourself. It's rare, okay?" Wen Qiao. As long as she doesn't praise Su Ying or compliment Su Ying, it's enough to make Su Ying jump up and down and collapse. There is no need to explain to this kind of person that all her money is earned by herself. After all, Su Ying didn't believe it either. It's just a waste of words. Wen Qiao didn't speak, and Su Ce didn't speak either. No one praised her for being so good. As expected, Su Ying was made to jump. "I told you, you don't understand. You are a frog in a well, and you have no knowledge at all." Su Ce finally spoke, "What's the name of the robot company?" Detong he was beaming when he said it. Such a famous multinational company with such a loud name must be able to scare them. Su Ce, oh. Wen Qiao didn't even say oh to Su Ying. Su Ying jumped anxiously, "Don't you think you've even heard of Detong?" Su Ce, "Ah Qiao, let's eat." Wen Qiao, "Okay." If Su Ying had a hook on her butt, she would be able to fly to the sky if she clicked on it. He may grabbed her and winked at her, "Okay, okay, just think that they are extremely envious, but they just don't want to make you happy, okay?" Su Ying saw the backs of the two people entering the living room and snorted, "That's for sure." Wen Qiao didn't expect that she didn't invite those three people, so they just entered the living room uninvited, and even sat at the dining table. Wen Qi was training at the club recently and didn't come back much. He was missing one person, but there were three more people, so the small dining table was quite crowded. Wen Qiao chuckled, "Why did Miss Du come here again?" It seemed like her brother-in-law's refusal was obvious enough. How could my brother-in-law like a woman like Du Yun who follows people's influence, loves vanity, and only cares about his uncle's abilities and not about him as a person? Du Yun stroked the curly hair beside his ear. "There is a Hollywood blockbuster going to be released tonight. I booked 2 tickets online. So Ce, if you have time, let's go see the movie together." Wen Qiao was a little dazed. What's the meaning? Didn't her brother-in-law reject this woman? Why could she pretend that nothing happened and invite her uncle to watch a movie? Su Ce's face was expressionless, even more indifferent than when he faced the robot. "Is Miss Du pursuing me?" Wen Qiao choked, "Is uncle so direct?" Du Yun suddenly felt a little shy and flipped his hair uncomfortably. Forget it, I guess. There is nothing unspeakable. So Ce said while eating the food, my neighbors all say I'm pretty handsome. He may quickly said, that's not just handsome, that's quite handsome. So Ce, so my mate's selection criteria are very high. Duyun still maintained a confident smile on his face, my conditions are not bad either. So Ce, in order to be worthy of my face, my requirement for my partner is to be under the age of 25. Duyun's face froze, she was 26 this year. You dog man, you are already 30 and you are still so picky, you really think you are a treasure. So Ce ignored her expression and continued, the monthly income must be 30,000 yuan, because I won't be able to work the part-time job in the hospital for long. It's very tiring, and I don't get along well with the people in the hospital, so I need a wife to support me. Wen Xiao. Uncle, please keep talking. Uncle, you are quite naughty. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 880. Duyun's face was already quite ugly. In addition, I need the woman to provide 2 apartments as dowry, and I need to write my name on them. Pa, Duyun patted down the chopsticks in his hand, are you still shameless? So Ce looked innocent. He Mei quickly took Duyun's hand and whispered, Xiao Du, don't get angry, don't get angry, our Ce is just saying this for fun, he is joking with you. This condition is really too much. So Ce added insult to injury, I'm not kidding, it's best to buy me another car. It can't be less than 200,000. If it weren't for his really handsome face, Duyun would have been tempted to dump his big mouth. Is this man out to act like a duck? The price is clearly marked, and the price is very clear. Shameless. Duyun threw down his chopsticks, stood up, pointed at Su Ce's nose and said loudly, don't you just work in the hospital? Don't you have a pretty face? You really dare to sit down and raise the price, with a monthly salary of 30,000, and your hands it's impossible for a woman who owns at least 3 apartments and can afford you a 200,000 car to like you, okay. After saying that, he grabbed his luxury bag and rushed out angrily. Su Ying rolled her eyes, Uncle, do you treat yourself as a commodity? You can really do it with such a clear price tag. Wen Xiao, Su Ying, watch your mouth. Su Ying also claps her chopsticks, Wen Xiao, can you control me? Wen Xiao glanced at her indifferently, this is my home, you have to abide by my rules. He Mei quickly pulled Su Ying up, Xiao, don't be the same as her. Auntie apologizes to you on her behalf. Let's leave first. After saying that, he pulled Su Ying, who was arrogant, out of the door. The room finally became quiet. Wen Xiao chuckled, Uncle, where did you learn this? So Ce, I was watching Uncle with your mother last night. I saw a son-in-law who came to the house made these requests. The audience seemed to be very indignant. Wen Xiao gave a thumbs up, brilliant move. So it's a lie that you didn't get along well with people in the hospital, right? Su Yun couldn't help but ask. So Ce, that's true. He had never been in the workplace and had no social experience at all, so he always felt uncomfortable staying there. Wen Xiao was a little worried, what's the problem? So Ce, I went to the Department of Cardiology. I had 2 consultations with an expert doctor. After I made an opinion, I was sent to the pharmacy. After I made another opinion, I was sent to the guidance office. It is equivalent to the front desk of a hospital outpatient department. Wen Xiao frowned, do Director Zheng and Minister Su know? I'm too lazy to tell them, let's do it first and wait for a few more days. If it doesn't work, I'll withdraw. Su Yun said worriedly, let's talk to Director Zheng and the others. This hospital is really serious. Why is it so neglectful? Wen Xiao probably knew that his uncle was a self-taught undergraduate, and even if he got full marks in general medicine, he was still considered a pediatrician in the eyes of the top doctors. Moreover, in their eyes, they probably thought that my uncle entered the hospital through the back door, and they looked down upon him even more. You can show them what you're capable of. Susie smiled. Didn't you girl hear what I just said? When she thought about it, it seemed that it was because of his uncle's display of strength that they suppressed him all the way to the clinic. Expert doctors disdained to listen to him, thinking that he was young and pushy. If you don't feel happy doing it, then don't do it. Susie, let's work for at least 3 months. It's a way to give Director Zhang some face.